Betrayal doesn't always arrive with a bang sometimes, it's hidden in plain sight. She was just scrolling mindlessly when she saw it, her sister glowing, holding a newborn, their parents by her side. A perfect family moment. But then her heart stopped. On the hospital table, right there in the frame, lay her husband's wallet and keychain. Familiar. Undeniable. Her hands trembled, but she typed, "Congratulations! Wish you all the best." Hit send. Then, she stood up, grabbed her keys and walked out the door. But what came next? No one could have imagined. In her office, bathed in the gentle spring sunlight, Violet Wilson gazed at the wedding photograph on her desk. That moment from 5 years ago, which should have been filled with joy, now held an unnatural shadow. Her parents' smiles, though present, barely masked their dissatisfaction, a feeling that still gripped her heart to this day. In the photo, she wore a pure white wedding dress nestled in Basil's arms. It should have been a moment of happiness, but her parents' subtle expressions had cast a pall over the entire scene. Growing up with her sister in a quiet residential area of suburban Hartford, Connecticut, those memories were anything but peaceful. Caitlin will surely find a job helping people. She remembered her mother's voice, praising her sister as if it were yesterday. The comparisons that began in childhood had become her everyday reality. Even when she excelled academically, her parents' focus remained on Caitlin. Even on Christmas morning, it was always Caitlin's presents that were opened first. "You're smart, so you'll be fine, but Caitlin needs special attention," her father would always say in that same detached tone. Even on the day Violet achieved top grades in her class, the conversation shifted to Caitlin's new volunteer work. On the day of her high school graduation, while her parents proudly talked about her sister's cheerleading accomplishments, Violet delivered the valedictorian speech. Each time, she had learned to smile silently, suppressing the emotions that surged inside her. Yet, despite it all, Violet had steadily forged her own path. She graduated at the top of her class from a prestigious university and built a career at a pharmaceutical company. Meeting Basil, an investment analyst, had opened her eyes to new possibilities in life. On her wedding day, in her parents' colonial-style house built in the 1980s, while she busied herself with preparations for the modest ceremony, her mother casually but certainly hurtfully remarked, "When Caitlin gets married, we'll have to do something grander, maybe at that lovely hotel near West Farms Mall." Basil had gently embraced her when those words pierced her heart. "Don't worry about it. Let's start our new life together," he had said, his touch and voice warm, offering the kind of comfort that stayed with her, even years later. 5 years had passed. Family interactions had dwindled to obligatory phone calls a few times a year and occasional emails. The Sunday brunch tradition had slowly faded. The emails from her parents were always filled with pride about her sister's accomplishments as a nurse at Memorial General Hospital. They would boast about Caitlin's success in her helping profession while downplaying Violet's promotions at the pharmaceutical company. Caitlin helped so many patients again today. She truly found her calling. Violet could only manage polite, formal replies to such emails. Instead, she buried herself in her work as the manager of PharmCo Incorporated's compliance department. Her judgment was consistently sharp and level-headed. Her ability to make decisions without emotional interference was something she had, ironically, learned from the strained dynamics of her family. The Starbucks latte on her desk was growing cold. The spring sunlight continued to bathe the room in warmth, yet Violet couldn't shake the cold feeling inside. Surrounded by the glass and steel of the modern office building, she turned away from the wedding photo and back to her computer screen. She took a sip of the now cooling latte. The bitterness that spread across her tongue seemed to mirror the undercurrent of emotions she couldn't avoid. Her Facebook timeline displayed as usual, posts from relatives and friends flowing by. During a brief break between client meetings, she scrolled absent-mindedly. Her finger paused as a post caught her eye. "A new life has been born at Memorial Hospital. Our angel, Emma." Violet's eyes froze as she read the name attached to the announcement, Caitlin Anderson, her sister's name. The photo showed her sister holding a baby in a hospital bed. Unlike her typically flashy personality, she wore an unusually gentle expression. Their parents stood on either side with beaming smiles, celebrating the birth of a new life. Her mother had tears in her eyes, and her father wore a proud expression. However, Violet's eyes were fixed on something captured at the edge of the photo. On the bedside table, there was a familiar wallet, a black leather luxury brand item, the one she had given her husband for Christmas. Next to it was the distinctive keychain Basil had bought during his Las Vegas business trip. It can't be. Violet's fingertips began to tremble. She checked the timestamp on the screen. The post was from 30 minutes ago. Basil was supposed to be on a business trip to Chicago. Cold sweat trickled down her spine. The office air conditioning suddenly seemed jarring, while gentle spring winds scattered cherry blossoms outside the window. Violet's core was frozen. Stay calm, whispering to herself. She took several deep breaths. Her experience in the compliance department was serving her well now. She must avoid emotional reactions. She needed to preserve evidence. She took out her smartphone and photographed the computer screen. She also saved screenshots, the post's date and time, comments, number of likes. She recorded everything. "Oh, Violet, how unusual to see you on Facebook at this hour." A voice suddenly came from behind. Turning around, she saw her colleague Iris standing there. She tried to peek at the screen. Violet hastily closed the browser. "Just taking a break. I'm heading out soon," Violet responded, consciously keeping her voice steady. Iris looked puzzled but said nothing more. "Congratulations. Wishing you happiness." Her fingers trembled slightly as they struck the keyboard while typing a comment on the post. Violet desperately suppressed her emotions. She pressed the send button. The posted message that appeared on screen felt somehow hollow. From her desk drawer, she took out a business card holder. Inside was a card for Blackstone Detective Agency, a reliable agency she had used for company investigations before. Violet picked up her smartphone and dialed the number. "Hello, Blackstone Detective Agency." "Hello. This is Violet Wilson from Farmco Incorporated. Miss Wilson, it's been a while. How can we help you today?" "I'd like to request a personal investigation." After hanging up, Violet began organizing her desk. She needed to cancel her afternoon meetings. She sent a brief email to her secretary, Sarah. "Leaving early due to illness. Please reschedule all afternoon appointments for tomorrow." As she picked up her handbag, Violet glanced out the window. The spring sunlight still shone brightly, illuminating the city below. But to her, the scene felt alien. Before leaving the office, she checked her smartphone one last time. The Facebook post had already gathered dozens of likes, with congratulatory messages continuously appearing in the comments section. The innocent joy from friends and family among them. "Violet, congratulations," felt cold, distant, and hollow. Stepping into the elevator, her eyes fell on her wedding ring, the symbol of the love and trust she and Basil had sworn 5 years ago. Now, its sparkle felt ironic, a painful reminder of everything that had come undone. When she reached the lobby on the first floor, the receptionist greeted her cheerfully. Violet returned a perfunctory smile before quickly leaving the building. In the early summer weather, the people walking through the high-rise district were absorbed in their daily routines. She hailed a taxi and gave the driver the detective agency's address. As the car began to move and the cityscape flowed past, Violet quietly steeled herself. This was the beginning of the end, but it would also be the starting point of a new life. The Blackstone Detective Agency was located on the 15th floor of an old office building downtown. She had visited several times for company investigations, but today felt entirely different. Stepping off the elevator, she noticed the dull brass plate at reception. A woman in her late 50s greeted her with a warm smile. "John Blackstone is waiting for you." The meeting room she was led to was furnished with heavy wooden furniture, and photographs chronicling the detective agency's long history adorned the walls. "Miss Wilson, it's been a while." Mr. Blackstone appeared in his usual navy suit. His graying hair and gentle expression gave him a fatherly air of reassurance, but his gaze was sharp, reflecting years of experience. "This is a personal request," Violet began, explaining the situation while showing him her smartphone screen, the Facebook post, the wallet and keychain captured in the photo, and her husband's fake business trip. As she spoke, she was surprised by how calm her voice sounded. "I see." Blackstone nodded thoughtfully. "Let's start with the basics: your husband's recent behavior patterns, credit card usage, phone records," he said, noting the necessary investigation items in his notebook. "Given our long-standing relationship of trust, we'll prioritize this investigation." True to his word, the investigation results began to arrive at a surprising speed. The first report was about Basil's supposed business trip to Chicago. While the company records showed a trip to Chicago, Basil's name didn't appear on any airline reservations. Instead, they found a booking at the Ritz-Carlton, a luxury hotel located near Memorial Hospital. "We've checked the security footage," the detective's report continued, along with photos of Basil and Caitlin secretly meeting in the hotel lobby. Caitlin was wearing a flashy red dress, while Basil appeared in his usual well-groomed suit. The two were speaking intimately, their expressions betraying no hint of guilt. The credit card usage history painted an equally telling picture: luxury restaurants, brand shops, and, most shockingly, continuous purchases from high-end baby stores over the past 6 months. It was clear now everything had been planned. "We've completed the analysis of phone records." Blackstone flipped through the new report. The findings were startling. While Violet worked late nights, frequent calls had been exchanged between Basil and her sister. Over the past year, the number of calls exceeded 500. "We've also obtained Memorial Hospital records," Blackstone added, pulling out another file. Pregnancy was confirmed 9 months ago, according to the attending physician's records. She had regular checkups from early pregnancy, and the due date, he hesitated for a moment, coincides with when Basil first started his business trips. The evidence kept piling up: records of purchasing a luxury brand stroller, rumors of visits to an upscale hot spring together, and, most decisively, hospital security camera footage capturing Basil repeatedly accompanying her to prenatal checkups. Everything was perfectly documented. "With this much evidence, you'll have sufficient advantage in divorce mediation." Violet quietly nodded at Blackstone's words. "As the next step, let me introduce you to a reliable lawyer." Just then, Violet's smartphone vibrated. A new Facebook notification. More likes on her sister's post, passionate comments from their parents, congratulatory messages from friends among them. Violet, a congratulations, glowed cold as ice. "Ms. Wilson, while tidying up the documents," Blackstone spoke quietly, "in my experience, many clients become emotional when faced with such situations, but your composure is remarkable." Violet gave a bitter smile. "It's what I learned in the compliance department. Don't get swept up in emotions, gather evidence, follow proper procedures, that's all. Still, no matter how calm you are, this is family betrayal. If you need anything, please contact us anytime, whatever we can do." "Thank you." Violet stood up and looked out the window. Twilight was approaching, casting a soft light over the city. "But I'll be fine. This isn't an ending, it's a new beginning." Before leaving the meeting room, she turned back to Blackstone one last time. "One more request. Could you investigate my parents as well? I think there's a high possibility they knew about this situation." Blackstone nodded silently. His expression showed his readiness for the new investigation ahead. Outside, the twilight city was bustling with people heading home. Violet took a deep breath. The air already carried hints of night, but her heart felt surprisingly clear. She took out her smartphone to schedule an appointment with the lawyer. The evidence was sufficient. Now it was time to prepare legally and then wait for the moment to reveal the truth. As she got into a taxi, Violet's eyes fell on her wedding ring that had become unnecessary. Her parents' house maintained the same appearance it had for over 30 years. The well-maintained lawn, her mother's cherished rose garden, and the old brass door knocker at the entrance. Everything was familiar yet felt alien today. Violet took a deep breath in the car. The final report from the Blackstone Detective Agency was in her bag. All the truth, including the investigation results of her parents, was contained within. "Are you ready?" Sarah Cohen, the lawyer in the passenger seat, spoke quietly. In her late 40s, she was highly regarded as a divorce specialist. "Remember, you have many people on your side." When she rang the doorbell, her mother came out. "Oh, Violet, how unusual." There was a slight tension in her voice. Everyone was already gathered in the living room. Her father sat in his usual spot on the sofa, looking up from his newspaper. Her sister, Caitlin, wore a flashy post-pregnancy dress holding the baby, and Basil stood by the window. "Thank you all for gathering here today." Violet's voice was surprisingly steady. The sound of Cohen opening her briefcase echoed in the heavy atmosphere. "What kind of gathering is this?" her mother asked anxiously. "It's a place to discuss the truth," Violet answered calmly. "First, please look at these." The evidence spread out on the table. Photos of secret hotel meetings, credit card usage history, hospital records, and numerous messages exchanged between her parents and Caitlin. "This?" Her father's face turned pale. "Wait, let me explain." Basil stepped forward. At first, it was just sympathy. She seemed lonely. "Lonely?" Violet's voice trembled slightly. "Or were you just bored with our marriage?" "That's not it. Before I knew it, I was in too deep." Basil continued. "I really love you. Can't we forget everything and start over?" "Start over?" Violet laughed softly. "You can say that after seeing this evidence?" Caitlin suddenly stood up. After handing the baby to their mother, she wore a challenging expression. "Yes, I did it. I wanted to ruin Big Sister's perfect life. Always, always being compared. Big Sister is smart, Big Sister is excellent, Big Sister is—" "Caitlin," her mother tried to stop her. "No, Mom," Caitlin continued. "Big Sister ruined my life. Parents' expectations, everyone's evaluation, everything. So I wanted to do the same to her." "Be quiet," her father shouted, but there was something weak in his voice. "And you, Dad," Violet calmly retorted, "why did you turn a blind eye? According to the detective's report, you must have known about their relationship." Silence dominated the room. Her mother began crying. Then, Cohen cleared her throat quietly. "Mrs. Anderson," the lawyer addressed her mother gently, "could you tell us about your past?" The color drained from her mother's face. "How we've investigated everything," Violet said. "Your teenage pregnancy, hasty marriage, and—" "Stop!" her mother screamed. But it couldn't be stopped now. "Is that why you were so obsessed with Caitlin's happy marriage?" Violet questioned. "Is that also why you said, 'We'll do something grander for Caitlin at my wedding'?" "I didn't want her to struggle like we did," her mother's voice trembled. "Appearances matter." "And what about my life?" Violet's voice showed emotion for the first time. "What about my happiness?" Her father stood up. "Violet, Dad was influenced by Mom and overprotected Caitlin," Violet interrupted. "My independence was misunderstood as cold, and we grew apart, and you turned a blind eye to your daughter's affair, all for the sake of family appearances." No one could argue. The evidence was too clear. "Now, let me tell you the schedule going forward." Violet regained her composure. Cohen pulled out documents. First, the divorce mediation schedule. Then Violet continued. "I'll report to Basil's company and Memorial Hospital by tomorrow the investigation results about their inappropriate relationship." "Wait," Caitlin cried out. "My job." "You should have thought about that," Violet said coldly. "Actions have consequences. Social media announcement," Cohen confirmed, "as planned." "Violet, please," Basil pleaded. "I'll demand substantial compensation from you," Violet said, ignoring her husband, "and money to sell the parents' house and relocate." "The house!" her father exclaimed in surprise. Yes, your credibility in this area will be lost. The baby started crying. Her mother just silently rocked the baby. The once perfect family portrait was now crumbling before their eyes. Let's end this. Violet stood up. Cohen quietly packed the documents into her bag. Violet, her mother called out one last time. Are you really? I'm going to be happy, Violet turned and said. This time, in the true sense. Leaving the living room heavy with tension, she didn't look back. Her new life had already begun. 1 year later, in spring, Violet stood at the top floor of a glass high-rise, gazing down at the city from her new office. 3 months had passed since her promotion to Director of Compliance at Farmco Incorporated. Her spacious corner office still carried the faint scent of new furniture, a quiet reminder of how much had changed. On her desk, a Business Week article covered an entire page. The headline read, Female Leader Building a New Era in the Pharmaceutical Industry, accompanied by Violet's photo. The interview praised her innovative compliance program, highlighting her impact in the industry. Mrs. Wilson, preparations for the next meeting are complete, Jessica, her new secretary, announced, knocking softly before adding that Sarah, her former secretary, had been promoted to manager in another department, a position Violet had recommended. Thank you, just 5 more minutes, Violet replied, her voice steady as she glanced out the window. The sky had cleared after a spring storm, and the new green leaves on the street trees sparkled in the sunlight. Violet's smartphone buzzed, breaking her reverie. It was a notification from a local news site. Former Goldman and Partners analyst denied new position on West Coast. Though Basil's name wasn't directly mentioned, Violet knew exactly who the article referred to. After the divorce, Basil had been forced to resign from his company, and his life had spiraled downward. His high alimony payments and ruined reputation had left him working at a small securities firm in a provincial city, earning less than 1/3 of his former salary. Another tab showed a headline about Memorial Hospital. Nursing license suspension appeal rejected due to inappropriate relationship. Caitlin's life had taken a dramatic turn as well. After being fired from the hospital and losing her nursing career, she had moved back in with their parents. Life as a single mother had proved much harder than she'd anticipated. Eventually, their parents sold their longtime home and moved to another state. The loss of their social standing had been more severe than they had expected. For a couple who had taken such pride in their teaching careers, it must have been an unbearable reality. Violet sighed softly. In the end, trying to maintain appearances cost them everything, she whispered, but there was no trace of regret in her voice. From her desk drawer, Violet pulled out a photograph, the wedding picture from 5 years ago. What had once squeezed her heart now seemed like a distant memory. She placed the photo into the shredder, watching as it was quietly destroyed. Her new life, more fulfilling than she could have ever imagined, was moving forward. On weekends, she had started attending a yoga class she'd always been interested in. Sunday brunch with friends she had met there had become a new pleasure. Even dinner alone, with ingredients carefully selected from Whole Foods, felt like a special luxury she had come to appreciate. Ms. Wilson, it's time. Jessica's voice broke into her thoughts. Violet stood up, ready for the day's board meeting, where she would present the new compliance system she had developed. As she stepped into the hallway, young employees bowed respectfully, their admiration evident. Her previous reputation for being cold had transformed into one of dignity and respect. On her way to the conference room, her smartphone buzzed again. This time, it was a notification from an online dating app, confirming dinner plans with someone she had matched with the previous week. He was a university professor, and their intellectual conversations had flowed naturally from their first message. Still taking it slow, she reminded herself, though she couldn't deny the excitement of new possibilities. Before opening the conference room door, Violet checked her appearance. Her navy-tailored suit was perfectly complemented by a subtle yet striking pearl necklace. Her makeup was understated, yet flawless, and her expression radiated confidence. "Good morning," she greeted as she entered the conference room, her voice dignified and strong. Outside, the spring sunlight bathed the room in a warm glow, signaling the arrival of a new season. Looking at her reflection in the glass table, Violet smiled slightly, not a smile of complete victory or satisfaction from revenge, but a quiet, confident expression of pride from a woman who had reclaimed her life. "Shall we begin?" Violet's voice echoed in the bright conference room. This wasn't an ending, it was just the beginning of a new story. Betrayal cuts the deepest when it comes from those meant to love you the most. But once the truth is exposed, what comes next? Justice? Revenge? Or something even more powerful, reclaiming her life on her own terms? Violet's story is not just about betrayal, it's about resilience, reinvention, and self-worth. She was deceived by the very people who should have supported her, but she didn't let that break her. Instead of falling into despair, she meticulously gathered the truth, confronted the people who wronged her, and ensured they faced the consequences. But her greatest victory wasn't just revenge, it was taking control of her own life and future. Her journey is a reminder that self-respect comes at a cost, but it's always worth it. Too often, women are expected to endure betrayal for the sake of family, to remain silent, to keep the peace. But Violet's story challenges that expectation. She didn't just survive, she thrived. She proved that true strength isn't about staying quiet in the face of injustice, but about standing up, demanding accountability, and walking away from those who don't deserve a place in your life. What do you think? Should Violet have exposed her husband, sister, and parents so publicly? Or would a quieter approach have been better? Should family loyalty remain intact no matter the betrayal? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more gripping tales of justice, drama, and redemption.